Why practicing Yin Yoga? Why practicing 5 postures in a yoga session if you could do 20 postures? Why would you go into a practice completely disengaged and relaxed if you could use the time to actually tone your muscles? That were questions that I had after leaving my first Yin Yoga class. I was a bit puzzled what this practice is about. And in this talk, I would like to just share a little bit my experience of the last few years as I made actually Yin Yoga my main practice. And I want to share with you what I discovered for myself. So Yin Yoga is a practice that is intensely slow. It is a practice in which we come into the postures and we hold them forever. A posture is held for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, like really, really long time. And the postures are not at all about using the muscles, but actually undoing the muscle or tension. So it is about deeply, deeply relaxing into the shapes. So I found that practicing this way has a huge benefit on a very physical level. Like when I was working only with the muscles, basically stretching the muscles, toning the muscles in Hatha yoga, I actually didn't find the space in my body that I found with Yin Yoga. It is oftentimes that we reach a certain limit through our active engaged practice on a muscular level, and it feels like there's no progress, but still actually it feels there should be more space. And working with Yin Yoga can actually give this extra bit of space, because Yin Yoga is working not with the muscles, but with different tissues. And oftentimes these other tissues are actually what holds us back from going deeper. So Yin Yoga very much addresses the connective tissues. It addresses fascia. It addresses the joints. It addresses ligaments and the tendons. Even the bones are worked in Yin Yoga. So basically, this structures the connective tissues. Fascia is what binds us together internally and literally basically connects our pinky toe with the top of the head. It is not that the body is as separately internally as we oftentimes see that depicted in anatomy, that there's one muscle responsible for a certain action, but actually all the muscles are tied together. The muscle fibers are tied together. They are wrapped by fascia and they are brought into their bundler shape. They are tied to the bones. The joints are held together by tissues that are literally going all through the entire body and connect us. And oftentimes the lack of space comes more from these tissues. And these are tissues that cannot be worked in the same way as we work the muscles. Muscles love to be worked repetitively and kind of repetitive short movements. That what works well for muscles. For these deeper tissues that I just touched upon, they are more rigid. They are more plastic, and they cannot open, give in. They cannot become spacious with this kind of short movements, repetitive movements. They actually need to go into a long holding of a stretch, so that this stretch really can soak into this more plastic, more rigid tissues. So Yin Yoga, when we go into a long holding of a posture, we actually don't create space on a very muscular level, but we create space more on the level of connective tissues, more on the level of fascia. We start moisturizing the fascia. Oftentimes it is actually when we not feel good in our body, when we feel like not at the height of our being, when we feel aging, our body starting to age. That's not so much that we feel the muscles are not toned enough. It's more that we feel actually the knees become achy, the lower back becomes achy, the shoulders, the mobility of the shoulder is just reduced, and that is making us feel not so great. And Yin Yoga is especially working into these areas. So we start with Yin Yoga, moisturizing the tissues. We start moisturizing fascia that makes it actually more mobile again. And at the same time, also, we are working on creating more space in the joints. And at the same time, we strengthen the joints and the bones. So it's very different actually than what we do in any other type of workout, be it an active yoga practice, or be it cycling, running, or any kind of engaged practices for the body that works with the muscles. So Yin Yoga can be a fantastic counterpart to all these practices to find more space in the body, and in this way more comfort and feeling more better in one's skin than an active practice would. So this is why I find on a very physical level, it really gives space, and that just leaves us feel very good. So Yin Yoga is something very slow. Holding a posture for 5 minutes, that's really long, and there is so much time, and the body is completely disengaged. And as the body is disengaged over such an extended period of time, what's happening naturally is that the breath can slow down. The breath becomes more spacious. The breath relaxes more. And as the breath relaxes more, actually there is a transfer to the mental activity. As the breath starts to slow down, as the breath becomes more spacious, also the mental activity actually gets less entangled. There are oftentimes so many layers of thoughts running parallel, entangled into one another. And as the breath slows down, there comes more space in the mental sphere. And as more space in our mental sphere comes in, there's a feeling of being able to breathe again, to relax more, to calm down. Like we are all in such a go, 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 full scheduled lifestyle that many of us have a hard time to actually relax. When it comes to sleeping, that can be a big problem for many. We feel stressed. Our nervous system is fully in fight and flight mode, and we support that with our drinking of coffee, with our active habits of balancing basically our work life with putting more stress in our gym workout, in our vinyasa practice. And we never create this space actually for the breath to slow down, and at the same time with that for the nervous system to relax, release, and actually swap into its opposite mode, into its rest and restore mode. And with that actually comes a feeling of settling within, centering in ourselves, and actually from this being so much in the head and everything actually is contracted and entangled in the head, like this dropping actually more into the body, that dropping more into the heart space. And for many, they report there is a discrepancy between the mind and the heart. And it's so hard to land in the heart and to actually give space to the heart. When we start breathing in a more relaxed way, or creating conditions that the breath can slow down, basically relax more, we also create the space to come out of this strong mental identification more into the body, more into the heart. And that gives us more a sense of groundedness, feeling settled, feeling at ease with oneself, rather than being rushed through life and trying to catch up with life, rather than being actually life. So we make space for the mind to slow down, and with that to actually arrive more within, in the body, in our hearts. Also this slowing down and this long holding of postures, for those who are a little bit more already into yoga practices or other esoteric practices, energy works, actually in this slow practice, there is something that we become more receptive, because there is time. We have more time to be more receptive and aware of energetic movements, of energetic fluctuations. So I feel also the energetic experience in Yin Yoga can be much more intense and more clear, because it is not kind of being in motion all the time, to actually catch energetic flows is much, much harder than when the whole body is more at rest. The breath is more at rest. The mind is more on or in an empty space. And with that, much more possible to also catch energetic fluctuation and get more in touch with the energetic system. As we're slowing down, holding the postures for long, as the breath slows down, as the mind slows down, that actually also helps us to really get more in touch with what we really are outside of our hectic life, outside of our overthinking, outside of our planning, outside of our go life. There's a sense of I am that is now present. That was actually not different from yesterday. There was this feeling of I am who you truly are. That was yesterday the same. And it was actually the same a year ago and 10 years ago. And this is something, a sense that comes from just being, from this knowingness that beingness is actually our true nature and not necessarily the condition of the body. So this sense of I amness is independent from more wrinkles that grow over time, is independent from what's on our screen of thinking. Yesterday, the thoughts were different than today. 10 years ago, they certainly were different. But this sense of I am, this knowing who you truly are, this resting within, this is something that is stable. And I find Yin Yoga also hugely, hugely beneficial in bringing us actually exactly into this space. Sometimes when we're sitting in meditation and trying to connect to this sense of I am and to come into the inner spaciousness, it's a bit hard because there's the mind and we try to, by observing, to get out of that. I feel when I'm practicing postures, there's a natural foreground of the body movement, of what's present in the body, that's dropping into the body, that helps to come out of the mental noise, that helps to come out of the mental engagement. And therefore, I find that hugely valuable and helpful to open myself with more ease, more effortless into the sense of who I am, into the spaciousness of being, into being life itself, essentially. So this is what I discovered about Yin Yoga, why to practice exactly the way Yin Yoga is, why to practice slow, why to practice disengaged, why to hold a posture for such a long period of time, because it really helps to create more space in the body. It helps with the joint health. It helps with the lubrication, moisturization of the internal tissues of the fascia. And this is very experiential. When you start Yin Yoga just for a little bit of time, this is something that becomes experiential quite fast. In this way, Yin Yoga is quite efficient on a very physical level. But also I love so much that it helps me to come out of a busy mind and helps me to just come into the spaciousness of being. And at the same time, it is such a great tool to foster and to work, to heighten, to sharpen the energetic perception. So this is what I discovered, and I feel it doesn't need actually a very, very, very long time of practice to come into the receiving of the fruits of the practice. This is why I want to share that with you, because for me it was so relevant. It really changed a lot in my practice, and it changed a lot in my life. And in case this is something that's interesting to you too, and I guess it is relevant. We have some practice videos, so you can just check out and see what is the practice actually about, and just follow us in different ways. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're happy if you like the video, if you gained insight from that, to share the video, and in this way to stay connected to us and mostly to yourself. Namaste.